Hello, Professor Cadmes here. I am going to talk to you right now about annotating the article What Happiness Is on page 21 of your English book. I just looked behind me because I have the book open right behind me on this couch. So, What Happiness is the next article that you are going to read. So, I would like you to read it and then also to answer the questions at the end of the article. But what you're also going to do is annotate this article for the vocabulary words that you don't know. So this is something that you'll do throughout the course, but I have begun by highlighting some words for you that you might not know. So your job is going to be to upload one page of this article with the definitions of the vocab words you don't know. You could do this very page that we're doing together, or you could do maybe the second page, right? So as usual, I'm going to go over the first two paragraphs with you, and then you'll be on your own for annotating for vocab on a full page of this article. So the article is called What Happiness Is. So looking at that title, we probably think that this is going to be an article that's defining happiness because it uses the word what happiness is. We might begin to think, well, what is happiness to us? Maybe we have a little bit of trouble defining it. I've had students in the past say happiness is having money, having good family and friends. And I've had other people say happiness is something that's more internal, a sense of satisfaction in life. So let's see what this author has to say about happiness, being very mindful of how we can define our vocab words as we go along. What Happiness Is by Eduardo Porter. Happiness is a slippery concept, a bundle of meanings with no precise, stable definition. Lots of thinkers have taken a shot at it. Happiness is when what you think, what you say, and what you do are in harmony, proposed Gandhi. Abraham Lincoln argued, most people are about as happy as they make up their minds to be. Snoopy, the Beagle philosopher in Peanuts, took what was to my mind the most precise stab at the underlying epistemological problem. My life has no purpose, no direction, no aim, no meaning, and yet I am happy. I can't figure it out. What am I doing right? Okay, so this paragraph has a lot in it. First, let's look at the vocab words in the paragraph. So I'm going to go ahead and click review. This is the method that I like to use for annotating for vocab. Precise is the first word that I've highlighted. So I'm going to take my, would you look at that? That is something that might happen to you as well. So we're going to scroll back down to the appropriate page, right, on page 23. Here we go. We're scrolling down. Past Malia and Destiny, pre-reading strategies. Alright, and make sure you actually click where you would like the posted to go. So we clicked on review, and then we're going to click right by the word that we want to actually define. So precise. Now, I'm going to tell you the definitions of the words, but probably you don't have all these definitions in your head because you haven't read this article yet, and you don't know them yet, which is fine. I've read this article many times and I know the definitions. So let's say you don't know the definitions. What you should do is go to dictionary.com or another source online to find the definition. Merriam-Webster's is good, dictionary.com is perfectly fine, and many computers have a dictionary function. Okay, so make sure you don't go to something like Urban Dictionary, right? Because that's going to give you something else. But you can absolutely go to one of the mainstream dictionary web sources. Or if you're old-fashioned, you might have a print dictionary. Those are lovely, and you can look up words that way. Okay, available many places, including the dollar store, when back-to-school season starts. All right, so precise means exact. Okay, so basically what he's saying is that happiness is really hard to define. It's slippery, like a rock that's slithered in oil, or like a pole that's slithered in Crisco, so Eagles fans can't climb up it. Okay? It is exact. So it's hard to define, and there is no exact meaning. Okay, and then we hear about what people have thought about it. And we hear about Gandhi, Abraham Lincoln, and Snoopy. And each of these people have a different idea of what happiness is. Okay, so Gandhi says that it's when what you're saying, what you're thinking, and what you're doing are in harmony. So an example of this would be if you say that you're pro animal rights and then you go watch dog fighting, then there's a disconnect between what you're saying and then what you're doing. Okay, so he's saying as long as everything is in alignment, you can be happy. Abraham Lincoln is saying that basically no matter what's happening around you, you can be happy no matter what. And you might debate that. You might say, if my ceiling just collapsed, am I going to be happy? Probably not. Or you might say, yes, inside me I have the tools for happiness. Okay? And then Snoopy, who's our cute cartoon character, here he is in the article, he's saying that he doesn't have any purpose in his life, no aim or no meaning, which are the standard things that people often think make us happy, and he's happy anyway, so he wants to know what he's doing right. That's a bit of a funny definition of happiness, okay? So this word epistemological, now that is basically the theory of knowledge or being. So basically, epistemology is the study of what it means to be alive and what it means to have thoughts and think, to think about these hard, challenging topics like what happiness is. So the epistemological is related to the theory of knowledge or being. Okay? And then we have a paragraph that's got a whole bunch of words that we need to define. So let's read this paragraph aloud. Most psychologists and economists who study happiness agree that what they prefer to call subjective well-being comprises three parts. Satisfaction, meant to capture how people judge their lives, measured up against their aspirations, positive feelings like joy, and the absence of negative feelings like anger. Okay, so psychologists are people who study the brain. Shout out to any psychology majors. Economists are people who study money. Subjective is the opposite of objective, something we learned about in the mindfulness video. Subjective is related to opinions. Okay. Comprises means makes up. And aspirations are goals. Okay. And when we're defining words, we want to also make sure that we are defining them in the context of the article, okay? So we want to make sure that we're picking the definition as it's being used in the actual article. We don't want to willy-nilly just copy down all 8 definitions on Merriam-Webster's dictionary. We do not want to do that. We want to pick the one that most directly relates to what is actually in the article, okay? So you want to look at that carefully. So let's talk briefly about this paragraph. So basically, various people who study things in the world, like those who study the brain, those who study money, agree that subjective well-being, which means the well-being that's different for different people, right, has 3 parts. How people measure their lives based against their aspirations or goals. So basically, is what you're doing getting you closer to your goals? And if it's not, you might be unhappy. Positive feelings like joy. So if you feel joyful, then you're happy. And then the absence of negative feelings like anger. So if you're not angry and you don't have negative feelings, then you would be happier. So it sounds kind of obvious, right? But that's what our experts are saying about what happiness would be. Psychologists and economists. So do note that this is more general, right? In the first paragraph, we talked about specific people. We talked about Snoopy, Abraham Lincoln, and we also talked about Gandhi, right? I forgot there for a minute who was the third one. So we talked about Gandhi. But in this paragraph, we're talking more generally about types of people, psychologists, economists, who have different feelings about what happiness would be. Okay, so you're going to continue to read this article and you can define the words that are highlighted. Okay, or you can pick other words that you may not know. Maybe you know what objective means, maybe you know what hypertension means, but maybe you don't know what the word population means, for example, right? So you can define the words that you don't know. So just to take a quick look at the end, the questions that you will answer, you will have done number 1, which is to define the words in the margins, right? And then talk a little bit about whether this helped you. The third question is a personal opinion question. Are you concerned with short-term or long-term pleasure in your life? And then talk about an example to support your point. And then the fourth question is about a short story that is about Abraham Lincoln and a pig, right, at the end of the article. So you want to think about what that story is telling us. What's the point of that story in the article? And then question number 5 is to think more broadly about what's the relationship between happiness and personal identity. In other words, are we happier if we are in sync with who we are? If some aspect of our identity, like our race or our class or even our preferences, are in alignment with, the outside world, are we happier? Are we sadder? So think about any relationship between happiness and people's personal identities. You can approach that however you would like. It's a creative, critical thinking question. It's one of the harder questions here, but I want to see how you do with it. Okay. And then finally, there is a question that talks about topic sentences. So a topic sentence is the first sentence in a paragraph often. So when you're doing your analytical and persuasive essays, you are going to have topic sentences, and topic sentences tell the overall main idea of that paragraph. So this question is saying that the author uses very clear topic sentences in his first several paragraphs, and it's asking you to say what's his first topic sentence, and then what's one specific detail that he uses to support that topic sentence. So if we look back, for example, his topic sentence is happiness is a slippery concept, a bundle of meanings with no precise, stable definition. Okay? And then for the support, you can pick any of the points that he makes from Gandhi, Lincoln, or even Snoopy to support the fact that happiness is a slippery concept. Okay, so that was a lot. Please feel free to contact me if you have any questions or concerns, and make sure to upload your vocabulary annotation as well as the answers to the questions for what happiness is.